Hey y'all, it's me Ari Bell and welcome to my YouTube channel, and if you are new, please subscribe and don't forget you are awesome.
Sighting. Your ghost photo could be that ghost sighting, confirm a story here in this town, be part of one of our stories without even being dead, a pretty good deal. Now here's how you participate. Find us online, either Facebook or TripAdvisor, upload those photos, Ripley's Ghost Train Adventure, easy enough to find. When you upload those photos, do two things. Say the day, the time, the location that you got that photo, but also say for Ghost Library. That way we can use it and share with all the other people who are investigating in this town. Now, I do believe that right before we left, I told you I was going to tell you about Ida Alice. Ida Alice, that portrait with that very stern, judging expression on her face. Yes, well, Ida Alice. Now, I mentioned that she was Henry Flagler's second wife, and, well, you see, that is what she came down here for. She came down here for her honeymoon with one of the richest people in the country. He owned all the railroads up and down the east coast of Florida, had himself the most beautiful hotel in all the southeast, the Ponce de Leon Hotel, right down here in downtown St. Augustine. And, well, that's where she thought she was going to be having her honeymoon, in the penthouse suite, and she did, but it didn't work out quite the way she thought. You see, she had been born rich, she'd married a rich man, and she thought this was her in into high society. But turns out all those high society ladies knew how Henry Flagler had met Ida Alice. Turns out Ida Alice had met Henry Flagler by being the nurse for Henry Flagler's first wife. Okay, now for some reason, that is very strange. I do see the people's meters are going off quite a bit as we are returning from our last stop. This is odd. Okay. So I am going to ask, all right, so I gave one person this advice. This is something which I'm going to ask that those of you who think that you're having a large number of experiences happening to you this evening, before tonight's tour is over, as you're ending tonight's tour, go ahead, take a self-portrait, take a selfie photo, and look for something unusual in that photo. If there is something unusual in that photo, go ahead around our last stop, say, I'm leaving now, you're welcome to stay here, I will be leaving. Please leave me alone. Something like that usually tends to work. Take another photo, and hopefully it should be leaving you alone. But we do seem to have some spirits that may be following us tonight, so keep your eyes open. All right, now, so as I said, Ida Alice, she actually came down here for her honeymoon, but this was not working out. All those high society ladies, they all know that Ida Alice had met Henry Flagler by being the nurse for Henry Flagler's first wife. So, you know, they'll talk about her, but they wouldn't talk to her. The people who would talk to her, well, they're in town for the same reasons why we find ourselves on this tour tonight. See, they call themselves spiritualists. They were trying to make contact with the other side. Of course, nowadays we get all these fancy tools. Think about these fancy tools. The reason why we all use all the electronics is not because they have bright lights and they make flashy things all the time. No, it's because they're safer. They are far safer than the Ouija board. The Ouija board had only been around for about 10 years at that time. They did not understand some of the various dangers that can happen with it. So Ida Alice, she gets invited to a seance. At the end, the medium turns to her and says, Ida Alice, I can sense your spirit. You have a gift for this. I have this gift for you. And gave her the Ouija board, telling her the wood came all the way. Now, first she's using this Ouija board with her friends, but then they lose interest, and now she's using it for hours and hours on end alone. Now, if you've ever read the rules for a Ouija board, the first rule is never use it alone. Now, while up there, she convinced a very strange idea. Her true love in life, not her husband, Henry Flagler. No, the man who's to make her truly happy was to be Tsar Nicholas II, the man who ruled Russia in those days, a man whom she had never met, the last Tsar of Russia, the man who one day would be the father of Anastasia. Now wait a minute, one day be the father of Anastasia, how can he be dead? He's not. See, Ida Alice doesn't care that he's not dead. She thinks that she's using the Ouija board as some kind of psychic telegraph between the living, no matter how far away. But that's not how it works, right? The Ouija board is only used to talk to the dead. Is in contact with something on the other side, something very dark, something that had a vendetta against Henry Flagler. Begins telling her, oh, the only thing keeping you from being the Tsarina of Russia, from being my love, is your husband. Deal with him. One night in their penthouse suite, she took her sewing shoes and she tried to stab Henry Flagler. Now, unfortunately, it knows his wife had been acting strangely, able to fend her off without too much harm to himself. As you can imagine, though, this was the end of their marriage. She was committed to an asylum for the rest of her days. Now, of course, there's many people in this town who don't believe in our ghosts, and they tell you, you know, if Ida Alice tried to stab her husband, it's not because the spirits told her to. It's because she was mad. She probably deserved to be locked up. Well, whether you believe that or not, by the day she died in that asylum, she had been climbing the walls for years. The last place she had any sanity, any mind of her own, was the beautiful Ponce de Leon Hotel, and that's where her spirit returned. That'd be just fine, but I expect that some of you folks may know what we use the old Ponce de Leon Hotel for now. It's Flagler College. The rooms that once cost thousands of dollars a night for the richest people in America are now their freshman girls' dormitories. Nice deal for the freshman girls, considering the fact that they don't know they're playing in sort of an unknown lottery. Yeah, that girl who checks in, the last one to check in, she gets the room that nobody wants. The room that Ida Alice held those seances in. And usually right around November, coming up here, right November, December, right when all those holidays parties were happening that Ida Alice didn't get invited to, the student will wake up and realize she got the wrong room. She feels a chill. She looks down the foot of her bed, sees a dark silhouette. As her eyes adjust, she sees that stern, judging expression you saw in that painting on Ida Alice's face, looking for jealousy to be found in that young student, and then seeing none, she fades in the darkness. Happens often enough they almost quit the student handbook, but you know that's bad publicity. So now they just deny it a lot. Of course, what all those denials really mean? Third floor Flagler late at night. You're on your own.
I'm getting a lot of chills.
All right. Now, in a moment here, we'll be heading right near that public burying ground that I mentioned before from that yellow fever outbreak. Now, the yellow fever outbreak was so bad it killed 1/3 of this town. And, see, people don't know what's causing it. It turns out to be mosquitoes. But, yeah, they're just trying to get the bodies in the ground as fast as they can. Here we go past the Huguenot Cemetery here. We'll be headed over to there in just a moment. But as we come around this corner, I actually want to point out the city gates. I mentioned them earlier, but here we are. And it's here at these city gates where Elizabeth's spirit is still seen. Now, as nice that portrait I showed you of Elizabeth is, I do not believe it's right. I believe the people who truly seen Elizabeth, they tell me she does not wave with one hand, no, she waves with two. Her father's solemn duty was to protect the city, and in death she now does this, standing there warning you. Stay away from St. Augustine, save yourselves. Stay away from the yellow fever. Her warning is frightening, but she's watching out for us. So I consider to be one of her more friendly spirits. Now, in just a moment, we headed right over the Huguenot Cemetery. Let's actually be doing a bit of investigating there, but unfortunately, it's not a drive-through cemetery. So what that means is when we come up right here to the stop, we'll all be stepping off the train to the right. We'll be going across the street right over there. And, oh, please take all your belongings with you. We'll be meeting the train on the other side. Anything left behind on the train will be easily found tomorrow.
Awesome as always, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.